Hey guys, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was at the very beginning of when you get into waterfowl hunting, it's very confusing, especially if you're watching a bunch of people hunt on YouTube and anything else, and you go out with your friends and they have a bunch of decoys or they have no decoys. So I just wanted to go over some of the decoy myths that everyone kind of has to do a little bit of trial and error. You don't always need one kind of decoy, right? So people will say, can I mix my silhouettes with my full bodies? The answer is always yes. You don't need one specific kind of decoy. You can run all silhouettes, you can run all full bodies, and I'm sure there's a lot of like experienced hunters who are hearing me say this and go, well, duh. But think back to when you started hunting. Even if you go into the Dive Bomb forum page and you look at how many people ask, how many full bodies should I put in with silhouettes? I mean, a lot of people have these questions, so that's why I decided to do this video. But you don't always need to use just full bodies or silhouettes. Obviously, what's easier about silhouettes is they're not as heavy as full bodies. You can fit way more in the back of your truck bed compared to full bodies, and you don't need a trailer. You don't have to have a trailer. So obviously, silhouettes are incredible to use. And then also, if you can't drive out into the field, it's a lot easier to bring 15, 20 dozen out in the field carrying 3 bags versus hucking dozens of full bodies by hand. So number one, you don't always need to use a specific type of decoy. You also don't have to spend a whole lot of money, and that's another great thing with silhouettes is you can have a lot of numbers without breaking your bank account. Whereas full bodies, I think it's $200 to $300 a 6-pack sometimes, or a dozen, depending on what kind of brand you get. So you really don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You can go out there with 30 full bodies between you and a buddy, and you can do just fine on geese. The only thing that really matters is your hide, calling, and then decoys. That's the big thing. So you don't need a bunch of money to go out and to be able to duck and goose hunt. I don't know if you've noticed on social media and whatever, like places like Fergus Falls and Rochester and all these places, they have out thousands of decoys when they're hunting. It works really well there. It doesn't mean that it's going to work like that in your area. And so if you see your favorite YouTuber, Instagram person going out there and throwing thousands of decoys, that's probably pretty area specific, you know, so don't feel like you need to do that. What you can do is focus on the things that don't take money, which is scouting takes a little bit of gas money, but scouting, making sure you're finding the right places to hunt, concealing yourself, that's another big one. And guess what else doesn't cost money? Practicing your duck and goose calling. And I guarantee you that will kill you so much more birds than buying an extra couple dozen decoys will. And when you're out scouting, try to mimic what you saw scouting. So if you're seeing 2,000 birds come to a field, you can assume, okay, I could put out 2,000 decoys here, or you can put out 100 in that area they were and just hide yourself very, very well. So I always try to mimic what I saw scouting just because I feel like it works a lot better. Now it's hunting, so not everything works and it might not be the same as the day before, but that's where I'm at with that. Try to mimic what you're seeing scouting. Another decoy myth, I don't know if it's really a myth as much as it is kind of like something that's ingrained in all of our heads, but you see people out on the public marsh, they're all throwing the same exact decoy spread. So a myth that I have is throw out other species of decoys. If you notice people go out on the marsh, they have 2-3 dozen mallard floaters or, you know, all Canada goose floaters, and then they'll have 2 duck floaters or they'll have 2 spinners. So go out, scout a day that people are hunting and look at what other people are throwing for spreads and then notice what they're killing for birds. You can either mimic them because they're doing very well, or make yourself stand out to the birds and do something completely different. One thing that I've been doing for years, especially on public marshes, is throwing out species that I know aren't there. So we don't get as many pintails in Minnesota as we used to, but we still have a lot of pintail decoys. And so what I would do is I'd throw out quite a few pintails. And for whatever reason, a lot of ducks on those days that were kind of weary everywhere else would land right into the pintail floaters. Don't know why, that's kind of my own myth, but put yourself in a different position than the other hunters are. Throw different species of decoys out. My last decoy myth is you don't have to spend so much money on the best decoy out there because people have been killing birds over tires for years. Could it make it easier for you to kill birds? Sure. But I always tell people to focus on what's more important. The area that you're hunting, so scouting really hard, getting better at calling so that you can make them do weird stuff, and then your concealment, your hide. Those are really 3 important things. Those are way more important than how many decoys you're throwing out or what formation you're putting them in. So I don't really even think about how I'm throwing the decoys, like is it a certain letter or not. You don't really need to worry about that, but just go out there and watch them scouting, and that will tell you a lot that you need to know. So the last tip is don't feel like you need to buy a DSD, an AVNX, or whatever the other very expensive full bodies are in order to kill birds. You could use a tire if you really wanted to. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this helps out a lot of new hunters going on in the future of learning how to waterfowl hunt. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and watch out for more stuff coming. Thanks.